What's up, fellow carrot on a stick chasers? I'm Teak, and in this video I'll be going over a strategy revolving around blight and expedition in Defiled Cathedral. I wanted to share it with you guys in case any of you were looking for a decent strategy that has the opportunity to pay off pretty substantially in the form of the apothecary card. Why blight, you may ask? Well, you know, there's a few reasons I've been running blight, but the main reason is blight with quantity altars actually results in some really solid quantity of loot dropped. I'll overlay a few clips where I held alt after the blights, and the amount of drops in the ground were actually pretty comparable to a cluster of strong boxes with enraged sextants, and that's with very little investment into blight. So for our map setup, as I mentioned, we're running Defiled Cathedral, but in this strategy it will work regardless of the map you choose, so long as the map has a divination card worth actually farming. For scarabs, we're running Polished Divination, Ambush, and Expedition. The last scarab can be whatever you want. I've tried a lot of different combinations and they basically all turned out pretty comparable, so go ahead and run whatever it may be that you would like to run. Right now I'm running Elder, but in the spreadsheet you'll see that I was running Polished Legion in that slot instead. For sextants, we're running Strongbox Enrage, +2 Strongbox, and areas contain an additional blight encounter. For the last sextant slot, you can throw whatever you want into there. Lately I've been running pack size in your unidentified maps since I have so many unidentified Defiled Cathedrals, but some other options would be like Gloom Shrine, +4 magic rare normal monsters, players cannot take reflected damage, or if you really want to push your profits, double runic monster markers would be a really good fit in that last sextant slot. So lastly, on the map device we are crafting Ambush, and we're not using any master missions for this strategy. Alright, now moving into our skill tree, the core of our strategy revolves around Expedition, Ambush, and Blight, so we'll go over that really quickly here. We're taking our Twice Tempted for an extra strongbox on the map. We're grabbing Secret Operations because Secret Operations is super good. We're also coming up here to grab Backup Cache and Vault of Mysteries. Those two nodes are really good as well. We just basically double any currency or divination cards we get from strongboxes. For Expedition here, we're skipping over all of the nodes that give us a chance to contain an expedition encounter. Since we're forcing that with scarabs anyway, there's no point to take those, and we're going to grab everything else to do with expedition. So we're taking Buried Knowledge, which gives us a chance for more logbooks, as well as more runic monster markers, and runic monsters are the ones that drop the good stuff. We're also grabbing Distinguished Demolitionist so we can make sure that we clear the entire expedition, and we're grabbing Agent Writings for chances at extra suffixes, which just gives us a chance to get better suffixes. So it also gives us +2 Remnants, which is just even more chance to get, you know, like the logbook or the increased quantity or whatever it may be that you're targeting. That pretty much does it for Expedition. For Blight, we're over here grabbing Mycelial Swarm. This one's really nice. Basically just 20% of the time we'll have 2 Blight encounters instead of 1 in the map. We also pick up Epidemiology, which isn't mandatory, but the more chance to contain blighted maps is just some extra profit, so I grab that as well. I also come down here and I pick up Immune Response, so we're getting 50% more non-unique monsters, and they're spawning twice as fast. So this is definitely, I would say, mandatory, unless maybe if your build can't handle the constant stream of monsters, you can drop that. But I'd highly recommend checking out some other videos on how to set up your towers and which ring anoints to use, and that'll drastically help and make it a lot more manageable. That pretty much does it for our core of the strategy. The influence that we're grabbing here, we're taking a Word of the Exarch because we're crafting Searing on our maps. We're also taking Wrath of the Cosmos, and Wrath of the Cosmos does add up pretty nicely. And then we are taking Light of Dawn just for a chance at some extra altars in our maps. So half the time when we encounter Searing Exarch, it'll spawn an altar right away at the beginning of a map, which is pretty important. It's definitely a nice node. You'll notice in my skill tree, I take Wellspring of Creation. I tried to counteract Wrath of the Cosmos with Wellspring of Creation because some of the maps were super rippy, So that's something to consider if you're having a problem with the amount of damage you're taking. Maybe your build isn't like super tanky, like mine's not incredibly tanky. I'm not even running determination currently. So I take Wellspring of Creation to offset the amount of extra damage I'll be taking from Wrath of the Cosmos. And then for the rest of our tree, it's all pretty much optional. I decided to put some points into Shrine as well as Essence for this set. You'll notice in the spreadsheet I was running Legion. All these Essence nodes were moved over to Legion instead. However, I don't think Legion's very good in this map, so I don't recommend it. Maybe if you're running another map, Legion is pretty good. Crimson Temple Legion is not bad. It can get kind of annoying, like when it spawns on the other side of a wall, but it's overall pretty decent. Just in this map, it's not so great, and there's other options for better profit, so just something to consider. And for what we're blocking here, since we're forcing Expedition, we can block Expedition just for a chance at more content. And we're blocking everything except for Blight here, as well as Rogue Exile stuff, like high stuff. And that pretty much does it for our Atlas tree. Oh, I'm also messing around with Seance. It's not mandatory. I don't know if I would even recommend taking that, but just right now I'm trying it out, so that's why it's spec'd in this tree. Alright, so here is our spreadsheet. We have our scarabs that we're using in this set. So for the stuff in the spreadsheet here, I was using Divination, Legion, Ambush, and Expedition, all polished. For our sextants, I was using Strongbox and Rage. Maps contain 2 additional Strongboxes. Maps contain a Blight encounter, and maps contain 4 packs of normal, rare, or magic monsters. And magic monsters, sorry, not or. In our skill tree, like I mentioned before, I had points shifted over here to Legion, so that's something to take into consideration. So as all my spreadsheets, we have our Chaos to Divine conversion, we have our investment stuff up here, 48 maps at 4C each, amount of chisels, bindings, all scours, Chaos to reroll no regen, as well as Orb of Unmaking to respec the entire tree, and then our Vol Orbs to corrupt the maps. We have the cost of our scarabs, which I believe have gone up a little bit. I think Divination's more at closer to like 4 or 5 right now. Ambush might even be 7. I don't know about Legion. I haven't ran that for a little bit. And then Expedition generally has been hovering between 7 and 8. Our compasses, Strongbox and Rage may have went up a little bit. I would recommend buying early in the morning because they seem to be cheaper. Light is super cheap. +2 Strongbox kind of fluctuates a little bit, but it's generally on the low side. And then +4 magic rare normal mobs is like dirt cheap. And then our ambush craft. So that ends up being 15 divines worth of investment for these 48 maps. Now for our profits, our revenue, sorry. So all this is without apothecary. We have some of our values that we base our totals off of on the left side here. So for high stuff we made 120C. For expedition related stuff we were at 1226, and then all of our other stuff we can see here. So map drops for Atoll itself was 408. The other T16 maps we ended up making 141. Our raw currency drops was approximately 6,000 chaos, 6,011.8 chaos to be exact. Our Searing and Polaric invitations here, sitting at just under 2 full invitations for 48 maps. Obviously, it's 48 divided by 28, so, and they're about 125C now, but I priced it at 123 when I made the spreadsheet. And same with our Polaric, they're at about like 6C now. I priced them at 5 here. And then we have our profit from our Legion down here. So our emblems, 416C, between emblems and incubators. Incubators was around 200C itself, although I'm not exactly sure how accurate that is. I don't really know how easy it is to sell them. I've never actually sold them. I always use them, so take that extra 200C with a grain of salt. We scroll down here and we get into our totals with our apothecary. Our profit ended up being 35.47 divines, and that was in all 48 maps. And then moving down into our revenue per map is about just over 1 divine in revenue per map, and then our profit ended up being just under 1 divine, so like 3/4 of a divine-ish. Now, if we move down to our totals, including the apothecary, we see that our profit more than doubled. So our profit per map is now like 1 3/4 instead of 3/4, which is substantially more. I'm not sure what this image is doing here. It's being weird, but we have our average time in maps. Let me fix this here really quick so that I can actually see what I'm talking about. Weird, that's strange. It's fine in my Chrome version of the spreadsheet. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I added almost an hour onto it. I added 40 minutes onto this for setup, as well as rolling and time and hideout and stuff like that. However, I don't really think it was anywhere close to that. I think it was more like 10 minutes, but whatever. I like to be a little conservative when I'm talking about how much you could make from your maps, because this is all like, this whole section here is basically subjective. This can vary like wildly depending on how fast you clear, depending on, you know, what build you're playing, how much downtime you take between each map, like how long it takes you to set stuff up, how willing to spend a little bit extra on scarabs and stuff like that you are. So if you're not willing to spend a little bit extra on scarabs and on maps and stuff like that to get things a little bit faster, then this obviously is going to change. So take this whole section with a grain of salt. I don't like this section personally, but I include it because some people do look for that type of thing. So in case you're interested, here it is. Please don't take it seriously. This will vary like wildly depending on you. From person to person, this will be totally different. So if I was to like really like, you know, focus and try to clear maps as fast as I could and stuff, I'm sure this could get down to like 5 minutes. And your time to set up and stuff like that considerably lower, but you know, it's whatever. I sometimes get distracted. I'm usually watching TV while I'm farming and stuff, so this is that's why it's approximately 6.5 minutes. When I timed it and I was actually trying, it was like 6 minutes, but whatever. We'll leave it at 6.5 and 40 minutes for additional time. So we're still sitting at over 6 divines an hour. And this is without apothecary, so obviously with apothecary it'll be a lot more. But honestly, you can't really rely on apothecary drops. So down here is our screenshots of our loot. As you can see, our maps are like the first set, like I said before, first set was using singular focus. So the first set we ended up with 50 maps. Exactly 50 atolls. In the second set, we ended up with 52 atolls, so we sustained the exact same amount of maps, our favorited maps. However, we ended up with another, 24, 23 extra maps, extra T16 maps on there. So, I mean, I don't think singular focus is worth running if you're doing your strategy this way, where you're favoriting another map. However, if you're trying to sustain the map that you're running, then okay, that's the exception. Then in that case, singular focus does have some value. But if you're playing in Trade League, why not farm another map that you're selling for the same amount and get more of, and then buy the map that you're trying to get? So we're running map A, and map B is connected. So we favorite map B, we sell map B, we buy map A. That way we make some extra profit on the side. So it just makes more sense. And as you can see, our singular focus down here really swayed the amount of blighted maps too. Here we have 9. 9, right? Yeah, that's 9. And then over on the first side we have 1. So I would totally recommend not going singular focus and setting it up like I have here. So I don't want to dwell too long on the spreadsheet. It's here if you want. There's also an Alice point value breakdown like I did in the boss rush stuff. So this is like very, very loosely accurate. Basically, like, it doesn't take into consideration the things that those monsters actually drop that aren't related to those league mechanics. So, you know, if an expedition monster drops a divine, this doesn't count it. This only counts logbooks and reroll currency for the expedition section here. Same with the Legion. This doesn't include like the boxes that you're popping open. It only includes the emblems and incubators. So take this section here with a little bit of a grain of salt, and maybe don't read too much into it. That's not exactly what you'd be making by adding Legion. However, it's an approximation of what you'd be adding strictly from the Legion League mechanic. And same thing with Blight. Like I said, the main reason is because the monsters drop a bunch of extra stuff. Everything else is kind of like whatever to me. That's why I'm valuing Blight so much right now. So, yeah, that pretty much does it for the spreadsheet. I'll link it again, as I always do, and you can go over it. If you do end up running the strategy, let me know how things go. If you have questions or whatever, throw them in the comments. I usually am pretty responsive on YouTube. And if you need anything, you can message me in game. If you need anything immediately or whatever, I will put my character name in the description. Yeah, my throat is super dry. I need to stop talking. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a lot of luck if you do decide to run the strat, and if you don't, I still hope you have a lot of luck. You know, run it or not, it's here. The information is here if you want it. All right. So take it easy. Have a good one.